Welcome back to StanCrafted. The other day I did a video on a Kumiko jig, and in that video I mentioned that you could also cut different sized box joints. And so today what I'd like to do is show you how to cut the 1/8 inch and the 1/4 inch box joints on that jig. And it's real simple. The key to it really is the keys that you're going to need to make. I made mine out of aluminum. One needs to be 1/4 of an inch, and the other one needs to be 1/8 of an inch. And it turns out that this aluminum stock is exactly the same width as my table saw blade. So it's really easy for me. You could also make them out of hardwood or plywood. It's a pretty simple process. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. If you want to try to grain match, it's helpful to kind of lay out your joints ahead of time. Otherwise, it's really easy to get the wood pieces backwards. So I'm just going to mark out where I want the teeth to be, the first 2 teeth. And then on the second one, I'm going to turn that over and also mark it out on the other side. And that way I cut it where it needs to be. Now, making the standard 1/8 inch blade width box joint is super simple. First thing you're going to want to do is to raise that blade until it's just slightly taller than the thickness of your material, and then insert the key into the slot. Now, I've always found it's a good idea to use a piece of scrap behind the wood that you're going to cut. The reason I do that is so that I don't get as much tear out on the back. You can see that if there is a gap between the top of the tooth and the top of your kerf cut, you're going to get tear out on the back piece of wood. There may still be a little bit, but this will help minimize it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this real quick, and then we'll cut the other side. Now what you want to do to cut the second piece is to put your first piece with one box joint over the key so that the second one gets lined up perfect. And you'll hold that up there while you cut the first box of the other one, and that's going to give you a matching key fit. Now with the first key cut, you can go ahead and do the rest just like you did the first piece. Okay, and so you can see that we've made our cuts, and they're fairly clean on both sides because we put that backer panel on there. And when we go to put these together, we get a nice clean tight fit. Joints look good on both sides. We could use a square and make sure that that's perfectly squared up there. And that's just a real good fit. Also, if it matters to you, and I don't know, it depends on your project, we can turn this and you can see how laying out your pattern before you start allows you to continue your grain matched pattern there if that matters to your project. Doesn't matter a ton, I think, when you're doing finger joints like it does when you're doing a miter joint, but still it would help a box look a little bit better. So now let's do the 1/4 inch box joint. Okay, to cut the 1/4 inch box joint, the first thing you're going to want to do again is to measure your stock and set your blade height just slightly above the width of your stock. Then you're going to want to put your Kumiko jig on and cut a new slot, because this one's going to be higher than what you've used for the Kumiko. Now that we've got that slot cut, what we're going to do is insert the double thickness key 2 spaces over. And that's going to leave us a 1/4 inch cut. Now at this point, you can replace the double key with the single key again in the same slot and make a second cut, completing a 1/4 inch width cut. Now what we're going to do is make 2 cuts with one setting, first here and then here, to continue to make the same 1/4 inch cuts. Now we're going to cut the matching side by setting the first tongue in place, making one cut, then we're going to slide this over and make the second cut, taking this notch out.